Was it respect? Was it jealousy? Or was it just frustration boiling over after one of the toughest days of Bubba Wallace's career? Whatever it was, the comment he made to Corey Heim after the San Diego race has the entire 23XI racing team talking. If you are a die-hard NASCAR fan who loves honest breakdowns of everything happening in this sport, make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below. Let's get into the story. The inaugural NASCAR Cup Series race at Naval Base Coronado in San Diego was supposed to be remembered for one thing: history. This was the first time NASCAR's top series had ever raced on an active military base, and the event was tied directly to the 250th anniversary of both the United States and the U.S. Navy. More than 50,000 fans showed up on race day alone, with roughly 125,000 attending across the entire weekend. NASCAR's leadership called the event a mission, and by the time the checkered flag fell, that mission appeared accomplished. But the moment that ended up defining the weekend did not happen on the track. It happened minutes after the race, in a brief, private exchange between two teammates. And once the details of that exchange became public, the story of a feel-good underdog victory turned into something far more complicated. To understand why this comment hit as hard as it did, the race itself has to be broken down first. Corey Heim, just 23 years old and racing part-time for 23XI Racing, started the race in 13th position. Early on, things did not go his way. He fell back to 20th place, struggling with tire issues that his team had warned him about beforehand. His crew chief, Booty Barker, had told him before the race that the two sets of tires they were starting with were their worst of the weekend, but assured him the car would come good later. That prediction turned out to be accurate. While Heim was working his way back through the field, chaos broke out at the front. On lap 31, during a restart, Austin Hill and Connor Zilisch were racing side by side for the lead when Hill locked up his brakes entering the corner. The contact sent Zilisch into the outside wall with significant force. Zilisch's car then bounced back into the path of his own Trackhouse Racing teammate, Shane van Gisbergen, who had been running directly behind the pair after backing out of a three-wide situation just seconds earlier. Van Gisbergen had nowhere to go and was collected in the wreckage. All three drivers were eliminated from the race. Van Gisbergen, who had won the pole the day before and entered the race as the prohibitive favorite, finished in 38th place. Zilisch, who had led 8 laps earlier in the race, finished 37th. Hill, who caused the contact, was classified 36th. With several of the race's biggest threats eliminated, the door opened for other contenders. As the laps wound down, the battle for the win came down to 223XI Racing teammates, Corey Heim and points leader Tyler Reddick. Reddick had controlled long stretches of the closing laps, leading 9 total laps in the final stage, but on lap 73, Reddick slipped in turn 2, giving Heim the opening he needed. The two teammates ran side by side through turns 3 and 4, and Reddick attempted a crossover move heading into turn 5. Contact occurred between the two cars, with Reddick scraping the outside wall and making contact with Heim's car, pushing him toward the wall as well. Heim held on and kept the position. Reddick later suffered a flat left front tire and fell all the way back to a 25th place finish, which dropped his points lead over Denny Hamlin to just 8 points with 9 races remaining in the regular season. Heim crossed the finish line 10.365 seconds ahead of the field, securing his first career NASCAR Cup Series victory in just his 13th start. It was also notable as the first time the number 67 car had ever found victory lane in the 78-year history of the Cup Series. Speaking after the race, Heim said, "I'm speechless. I mean, we started the race, I think we started 13th. We fell straight back to 20th. Then put on our scuffs from qualifying. Struggled just as bad. I don't know if we made any adjustments. Booty kept telling me these were our worst 2 sets of tires. We were going to be fine. He was right. I couldn't believe it." Finishing right behind Heim in second place was Bubba Wallace, giving 2-3XI Racing the first 1-2 finish in the organization's history. On paper, it was a remarkable day for the team, but Wallace's path to that second-place finish was anything but smooth, and understanding what he had just gone through is essential to understanding what happened next. Early in the race, during a pit stop on lap 18, Wallace's right front wheel was not properly secured. One lap later, the wheel detached entirely while the car was still on track, triggering a caution period. As a result, Wallace was hit with a 2-lap penalty and had to sit in his pit stall while the field cycled past him. For a driver who has historically struggled on road and street courses, this looked like the end of any chance at a strong finish. In 40 prior Cup Series starts on road or street courses, Wallace had earned just one top 5 finish and 4 top 10 finishes combined. Instead, Wallace fought back. He worked his way through the field, picked up free passes during subsequent cautions to get back onto the lead lap, and steadily climbed into contention. By the closing laps, he found himself running in second place, a position he held onto when Reddick's tire issue eliminated him from contention. It was, statistically, the best road or street course finish of Wallace's career. Speaking afterward, Wallace said, "It's what if. Tired of living in that." Despite the result, Wallace appeared to be replaying the moment his wheel came off, wondering what might have happened without the penalty. He also reflected on the broader pattern of races where something outside his control had affected the outcome, saying, "At the end of our weekends we fill out. Was it a green race or was it not? Here's another where it's not. So that's a lot of not green races for us." This was the emotional state Wallace was in when he climbed out of his car after finishing second to his own teammate, a teammate who happened to be on a part-time schedule, 13 starts into his Cup Series career. According to Heim, once both drivers had exited their vehicles, Wallace approached him. At first, the interaction was completely standard. Wallace congratulated him, shook his hand, and acknowledged what he had just accomplished. Then came the comment that stuck with Heim. Wallace reportedly told him, "Congrats, enjoy this one. They don't come around too often." On its surface, that sentence has more than one possible meaning. One interpretation is straightforward. A veteran driver reminding a younger teammate just how difficult it is to win at the Cup Series level. A fact that is statistically true. Many talented drivers spend years, even entire careers, chasing a single victory and never get one. But that is not how Heim received it in the moment. Speaking with reporters after the race, Heim admitted the comment immediately caught his attention. He interpreted it as a suggestion that this win might be a one-time occurrence, or that he had not yet proven himself capable of winning consistently at the Cup level. It is not difficult to understand why a comment like that would stick with a young driver in that exact moment. Heim had just delivered the biggest win of his career, the result of years of development across the Truck Series, ARCA, and a limited Cup schedule. The emotions of that achievement were still fresh when a teammate's words introduced a note of doubt into what should have been an unambiguous celebration. What stood out in how Heim handled the situation was his restraint. He did not publicly criticize Wallace. He did not accuse him of disrespect. Instead, Heim made clear that he respects what Wallace has accomplished and the position Wallace has earned in the Cup Series. At the same time, Heim was honest that the comment bothered him and that he had thought about it afterward. Rather than turning the moment into a public conflict, Heim said he intended to use it as motivation, stating that people will always have differing opinions about whether a driver belongs at this level, and that he planned to answer those opinions through performance rather than words. As the story developed, people connected to the 2-3XI racing organization offered a different explanation for Wallace's comment. According to individuals close to the team, the remark may have had less to do with Heim directly and more to do with Wallace's own frustration over how his race had unfolded. One team member suggested that Wallace felt his team had let a winning opportunity slip away because of the loose wheel incident and the resulting penalty. Another person close to the organization stated that the comment was never intended to question whether Heim belonged in the Cup Series, but was instead the reaction of a competitor who had come up just short of a win he believed he could have had. Adding to the complexity of the story, Wallace did not publicly address the private comment before leaving the track that day. What he did say publicly painted a very different picture. Wallace praised both Heim and crew chief Bubba Barker, who had previously called the shots on Wallace's own team and led him to his first 2 career Cup Series wins. Wallace stated, "My body language and facial expressions will not show it, but I am really excited for Corey and Bubba, getting him back to victory lane. Being a winner in the Cup Series is something that, when we get there, we all want to achieve, and to be able to do that for him in his 13th start, it's pretty special." That public praise stands in noticeable contrast to the private comment Heim described, leaving fans to interpret the full picture for themselves. There are additional layers to this story that make it more significant than a single post-race exchange. Heim is already confirmed to become Wallace's full-time teammate starting in 2027, driving the number 35 Toyota for 23XI Racing. In comments made before the San Diego race, Wallace had already spoken about Heim joining the team, saying, "He'll be competitive for sure. He'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for him." That same crew chief connection adds another dimension, since Bubba Barker previously guided Wallace himself to his earliest career victories before later moving over to lead Heim's program. Meanwhile, Tyler Reddick, the other teammate directly involved in the race for the win, handled his side of the story very differently. After making contact with Heim and running him toward the wall during their late race battle, Reddick was openly remorseful. He stated, "I certainly overdid it and ran him in the wall and initiated the contact. Everything. So yeah, just not the way to race a teammate. We're going down the wrong path right now and need to stop it." Reddick's public accountability offers a clear contrast to the more ambiguous nature of Wallace's comment. What happens next with this story depends entirely on what Heim does for the remainder of the season. A first Cup Series win has the potential to change everything for a young driver, including how he is viewed by his own team, by his competitors, and by himself. Whether Wallace's comment was a harmless reminder about how rare wins are, frustration spilling over from a tough day, or something with a bit more edge to it, it has already created a storyline that will follow Heim into his upcoming races. If he wins again, the comment will be remembered as motivation. If he does not, the questions raised by that exchange will likely resurface. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe Bubba Wallace's comment was a genuine reflection of frustration after a difficult day, or do you think there was more competitiveness behind it than people are willing to admit? And does this exchange make the future teammate dynamic between Bubba Wallace and Corey Heim more interesting heading into the 2027 season? If you are a die-hard NASCAR fan, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.